Hello, guys. How are you? I hope you're doing great. Okay, today we will start discussing the rest of the French Revolution. If you remember, we talked before about the French Revolution and how it was outrageous, how a lot of innocent people died, and how it affected the French society. We stopped at the part when Marie-Antoinette was attacked in her castle, in her palace, by the mob, by the outrageous, angry mob who just went out and broke out of Le Bastille prison. And they have all of the rage and the revenge inside of them, and anger, and want to take back their own right in the country that was not theirs, that was ruled by the dictator Louis XVI. So what happened with Louis XVI and his wife? That's what we're going to talk about today. And also we're going to talk about Napoleon or Napoleon Bonaparte and his role in the French Revolution. When the French Revolution took place, as we can see here, a group of people called the sans-culottes. They are like some kind of ordinary people who were so simple, like when it comes to their clothing, their education, very simple-minded. And at the same time, they were from the French population. They wanted to take back the rights. They were full of anger and revenge, and they wanted to take back what they believed was theirs. So accordingly, they caught the king who was trying to escape. And the first thing they did was executing Louis XVI, this dictator that they believed was the reason why France was suffering that much. As you can see here, sans-culottes actually, which were like a very, very fanatic group, did not believe in mercy, did not believe that they could spare the lives of anyone from the royals or aristocrats. They believed that all of them deserved to die. So they started executing on the guillotine every single royal person, from the royal family, from the aristocrats. Every single person that had to do with the royal family was executed on the guillotine. Like they slit her throat, as you can see here. This is the execution of Louis XVI. And they would just throw their bodies away in any mass graves. But did they execute Marie-Antoinette? I mean, that easily? No. They believed that Marie-Antoinette was more responsible than her husband for the mess that France was suffering from, and that she was more responsible for the suffering of the people than anyone else. That's why they wanted to take it all on her. But how? What did they do? Let's see. This is Marie-Antoinette. Before we talk about the destiny of Marie-Antoinette and her doom, let's talk about her personality. Like, who is Marie-Antoinette? Marie-Antoinette was this beautiful young lady from Vienna, Austria, who got to marry Louis XVI when she was around 18 years old. And it was a forced marriage. She never wanted to marry him. She was very unhappy, and she never loved him. She wanted actually to stick to her royal family in Austria, but because of royal transactions, royal connections, advantages, her family forced her to marry him for politics thing. So she decided to find her salvation in spending money, being luxurious, living this luxurious life, which is full of spending money, the money of the people. And that's why we can see here in her pictures she was very lavish, like she didn't actually care about the people. She didn't care about their suffering, whether they're poor or not. She cared only about her own clothing, her jewelry, her breakfast, which comes from abroad, the parties she throws every now and then to entertain herself. and she was very self-centered. Marie-Antoinette is believed to be one of the main reasons for the outbreak of the French Revolution. And as we saw this portrait before, this is when the mob attacked her palace. They were very angry, and she was trying to protect her children. When they got to catch her, she actually didn't try to escape, and that was surprising, unlike her husband who tried to escape. She surrendered herself to the people. She gave in to the people. She just went out in the balcony, and in a very historical, legendary scene, she surrendered herself. She gave herself away to the people. And among those starving people who were attacking the castle and those starving children, those angry people, she had to face all of this anger. They took her to the Revolutionary Tribunal on 14th of October 1793. The Revolutionary Tribunal is like a court, a group of people who would pass the judgment. But honestly speaking, they already had the judgment passed before she even arrived. I mean, historians believe that there was no trial whatsoever. There was no defense. She wasn't given any time to prepare herself to defend himself against all the charges that were actually pointed against her. They only gave her and her own lawyers around 3 days to prepare their own defense, and that was not enough in the face of all of the charges she had to face. And let's talk about the charges. That's, of course, in the portrait of Marie-Antoinette in the court, defending herself. All right, so the accusations were orchestrating orgies. Orchestrating orgies means that she was organizing immoral parties in her palace in Versailles. Versailles is the royal French palace back then. And by the way, this palace is still there in France till now. Sending millions of treasury money to Austria. They accused her that she was sending money to her own mother country, motherland. Like she was sending money from France to Austria, and that was a charge. Planning the massacre of the Garde Française, or the National Guard. Declaring her son to be the new king of France. They accused her that she, the one who organized for some massacre, some master crime that happened before the French Revolution. A group of soldiers from the army were murdered, were slaughtered in a very brutal manner. So they accused her that she's the one who plotted for that, who planned for all of this. Why? In order to make sure that her son will become the king and her son wouldn't have any enemies in front of him. And I believe myself that she was not part of this. That was like part of the accusations that were filed against her. She was framed for that, but she never did it. Marie-Antoinette also is declared guilty of 3 main charges. First, depletion of the national treasury. Depletion of the national treasury means she was consuming the money of the country, consuming the money of the people. Conspiracy against the internal and external security of the state means that she was passing secrets, leaking secrets to the other countries against France, like taking the secrets of France, whether military secrets, politics secrets, and give them away to other countries, which we call conspiracy. Intelligence with the enemy means she was plotting some plans and schemes against France with its own enemies. And also the last one, actually, the intelligence with the enemy was more than enough to condemn her to death and execution. So what happened with Marie-Antoinette? Before I continue, just let me check if it's still recording. Yeah, okay. By the way, you'll find the script on the other side here. I mean, the caption is working. In case you wanted to read what I'm saying here. So it's already on the screen recording. Maybe I can do something about it like here. I'm not sure if it's possible. Yeah, I think that's nice. I think. Okay. Can do this in here. If you want to like watch like the script itself, I mean the script of what I'm saying, and at the same time watch the slides. All right. So I was saying that Marie-Antoinette, what happened with her? Let's see here. In the pictures, first of all, the guards captured her in a very merciless manner. And they tied her arms from the back, as we can see here. They shoved her hair, and that was very, very brutal and unkind. And they gave her a dress, a white dress, the dress of the widows. The widows would dress such white dress at that time. And they let her change her clothes in front of the guards. They didn't even give her privacy. That was, of course, brutal. That was so unkind. Then they put her in an open cart and they let her move around France in an open cart among the angry crowds. And you can imagine how the angry crowds will deal with such lady in such conditions. Everyone was cursing her. Everyone was cheering against her. Everyone was screaming at her and yelling, asking for revenge, throwing tomatoes and stuff on her. And in spite of everything, she kept her composure. She didn't move a bit. She didn't even blink any eye, which means that as a queen, she kept her composure. I mean, this situation is so hard for anyone. You can imagine yourself in an open cart among the like angry crowds. It would be so hard for anyone. But for her, it was like, you know, a test of patience, and she kept her composure completely, which tells us a lot about her as a queen, after all, a brave queen. So this brave queen actually reached the guillotine after a hard journey with the crowds, and at the guillotine, at the moment of execution, the person who executed her was named Henry Samson, and Henry Samson actually, what happened is a very weird scenario. She like would climb the guillotine and she would stand in front of Henry in order to cut off her head. And by mistake, she treads on his own feet. So what happens about, she apologizes and she tells him, "Sir, pardon me, I meant not to." So she would apologize to her own executioner, which is an act of nobility. This act of nobility is never expected from a normal person. It's expected only from a royal person, a noble person, which leaves us actually in wonder about her personality. And accordingly, historians, after she was murdered and her body was thrown in some grave called Magdalen Cemetery, like some grave we know nothing about. Okay. Sorry. So historians believe that like she acted in a very brave manner as a mother, as a queen. She kept her composure at times which were hard to everyone, to any normal person. At the same time, she protected her own children. She didn't give up on them or tried even to escape. As a queen, she was really noble. But on the other side, some historians believe that she was one of the main reasons why the French Revolution started in the first place. So is she a victim of her family, and their own ambition, or a victimizer? That's a question that historians failed to answer till now. Moving to a very important figure in the French Revolution, and Napoleon. As we can see here, Napoleon, or Napoleon Bonaparte, is the French general in the French army, who claimed to be one of the reasons why the French Revolution happened. And he claimed also to be the son of the French Revolution. He claimed to be the one who inspired the French Revolution. And that was really weird, because Napoleon, as historians believe, was out of France when the French Revolution happened in the first place. I mean, he was not even there. Let's know some stuff about Napoleon. Napoleon was the smartest and most intelligent French general that ever came to France. But why? Why was he so intelligent and so smart? He had this kind of social intelligence, like he can build connections with everyone. He was very diplomatic. That's why he could build connections in the army, and in no time he became a general in the army when he was around 25 years old. So imagine a general in the army at the age of 25. That's something, you know. Not only that, also he called himself the son of the revolution. He would even say that I am the revolution. He believed that he the one. And the only reason why the revolution happened and why it ended and why it spread those notions of fraternity, liberty, and equality among all of the French people. And honestly, like as one of the people who studied the French Revolution for so long, I believe that Napoleon was just a jumper on the revolution. He wasn't really part of it. He took over it, but he didn't really start it in the first place. All right. When the revolution happened, when it started, and of course you can read the details later in the slides, Napoleon, as I just mentioned, wasn't even in France. When the coup d'etat, he heard about the coup d'etat. Coup d'etat means like some kind of like a small revolution against the government and the army. When it happened that it took place in France, he was in a battle out of France. So he left his army and he went back to France to join this coup d'etat and to be on the front. And this is what happened. Then he actually decided to crown himself the council for life in France. And for some reason, historians believe that the French people removed Louis XVI in order to have another dictator, but in another form. So to crown yourself the council for life means you are a dictator. You're a king for life. No one will ever come after you. So Napoleon had one problem. He was over ambitious, very, very ambitious. He would dream and dream of kingdoms that he would open, and lands he would conquer, and places he would go in order to expand the French Empire. He wanted to make France the most powerful kingdom in the world, in European world. But how? On the expense on the other European lands. That's why people in Europe used to hate him. And of course, in the East, he conquered Egypt, Algeria, Tunisia, he conquered the East as well. And of course, all of us know that he conquered Egypt, and the French army stayed there for some time, and then the Egyptians drove them out. And they failed to change our language. They left us the language, but they didn't change our tongue. Unlike what happened in Algeria, they changed the tongue of the people, and the people became so affected by France and the French language that they can't talk pure Arabic. They talk French and Arabic together. All right, so back to this topic. In Europe, they called him peace disturber or tranquility disturber. Tranquility disturber means a person who is actually disturbing the peace of other countries, and he hated the way he was conquering all lands and disturbing the innocence and the peace in all the European countries. And he wanted to stop him so bad. And this chance came when, as I just mentioned, Napoleon's ambition was far beyond everything, and he decided to conquer Russia. Russia at that time was so powerful and maybe the mightiest country in the world. So, Russia, of course, is very well known for its cold weather and hard weather conditions. And the French army, when they went there, it was winter, and the army started to die out of cold and hunger, and the horses died. So Napoleon started to lose his army, and till he almost lost everyone. And the Grande Armée, which is the Grand Army he went with, started to die one after the other, soldier after the other. So most of the army actually died, and they could capture him. And this capture or this captivity happened here across the Norman River into Russia. So they captured him there, and by capturing Napoleon in Russia, that was the end of his own dreams of empires. And he was sent into an exile in St. Helena. It's some kind of island, very far away island. After some years where he lived there, he died. Some believe that he was killed. Some believe he committed suicide. And some believe it was a normal death. But what we all know is that for sure it was not a random death. It was a plotted death. He was murdered because he knew too many secrets about France. And they wanted his secrets to die with him. Some people believe that he was poisoned. And that was the end of the mighty Napoleon or Napoleon Bonaparte. I have to admit that Napoleon Bonaparte had great ideas of science and reformation. And if he really would focus on them rather than focusing on conquering innocent lands or European lands, maybe he would have stayed longer in his own place and in his own rule, but his ambition blinded him. So one empire rises, another empire falls. And that was the end of the French Revolution with the main figures, Marie-Antoinette and Napoleon Bonaparte. Hope you enjoyed the French Revolution. Thank you so much. Let me know if you got any questions, please. Thank you. Have a great evening.